So good morning, I'm Lorenzo Bruni and I'm a PhD student at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. And today I'm going to present our work on data-driven reduced order modeling of crater formation during Plume-Surface interaction. So what we mean for Plume-Surface interaction in this study is the effect of the interaction between a rocket-powered between the exhaust of a rocket-powered spacecraft and the granular surface of a planetary body. This phenomenon is highly dependent on the characteristics of the soil, on the flow properties of the jet, on the distance between the jet and the surface, and all of these parameters are leading to the risks associated with plume surface interactions, such as the erosion of the surface that could compromise the stability of the spacecraft, and the ejection of fast particles able to damage the onboard equipment and reduce the visibility. We made some experiments at UIUC, as you can see on the bottom right, and you can see the evolution in time of the ejector field, but even if the nozzle is more distant from the surface, there are some significant loss of visibility, as you can see in the video on the right, for the landing of Perseverance. On the left, instead, you can see the one of the images of the craters formed during the dataset, during the experiments that we are analyzing, that are coming from that are coming from the NASA Physics Focus Ground Test Campaign performed at NASA Marshall in 2021. So the parameter space that has been studied during these experiments allowed to vary the regolith simulants, the nozzle heights, the jet mass flow rates, and the vacuum chamber pressures. And the setup of this experiment also involved the transparent splitter plate that allowed us to see what's happening inside the crater. So there are many sources of data for these experiments, but we decided to focus for this presentation on the crater camera, which is a phantom camera with a frequency of sampling of 5 kilohertz. And the videos are not playing, but you can see also from these pictures that that for very different. So I saw a message in chat. People, are there any problem in the visualization of the presentation?
Yeah, I'm just seeing a black screen, Casey.
Okay, this is fine. We can start from here. So can I start talking?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so the main objectives for this work are to create a database of quantities of interest for erosion and ejecta dynamics, and derive reduced models for improving predictions and risk assessment of PSI, in order to provide engineering models and scalable relationships to advance the understanding of plume surface interactions. And the tasks that have to be performed in order to accomplish these main objectives are to segment the craters, classify the data, extract and track quantities of interest in time, and assess their sensitivity to the input parameters of the problem, and finally derive relations for cratering, erosion, and ejecta dynamics. Next. I'd like to give you an introduction on the method we use to segment the images to extract the crater outline. So we evaluated the moving average to remove high-order oscillations in time. Then we evaluated the total average to remove, in this case, the static objects from the pictures. Then applying a spatial Gaussian filter to the images with a standard deviation of 3 and a kernel of 12 by 12 pixels. Finally, performing a contour evaluation on the subtraction between the moving average and the total average. Next. So giving you an example of this process, you can see the raw data in the first video, then the application of an intensity thresholding to the pictures. And so we then had to remove the static objects and the high order oscillations from the images, finally also applying a mask to isolate the region of interest and obtaining finally the fourth video, so the outline of the crater. And we have a success rate of 75% for the cases that we are analyzing at the moment, so the monodispersed sand and glass beads. But for the remaining 25% of the cases, which are not working because the crater can be a little bit too diffused or with a too complex shape for now, we are trying to implement new methods such as gradient thresholdings and automated machine learning techniques. Next. Now, after we segmented the data and extracted the contour outline, we have a list of points representing the shape of this contour. And the first step for us is to find an analytical representation of this extracted contour, which is function of just a few parameters. And there are many ways to do this, but we chose to approximate the outline of the contour using a combination of Gaussians, simply because looking at the data, most of the contours look exactly like Gaussians. So obviously we could extend these to different shapes as well, but for now we are using Gaussians, so the parameters of these crater fitting are the amplitude, the mean values, and the standard deviations of the multiple Gaussians. So we are minimizing our cost function, which is a combination of an L2 and L1 penalty. And in particular, the L1 penalty induces sparsity in the number of Gaussians. Next. So this is an example of the application of this method. You can see the red line, which is the raw contour, the extracted contour, and the blue line that is the reconstructed one. And you can see here two different cases. In the first case, the algorithm found that the number of Gaussians used to represent this crater is just 1, while for more complex cases, such as the one on the right, we used 3 Gaussians. Next. Then the goal is to discover governing dynamical systems models of the form that you can see here using PySINDy, which is a Python package implementing sparse symbolic regression framework, where X is the measure data, theta is the library of candidate basis functions that we have to provide, and Xi is the set of coefficients determined by PySINDy, representing the active terms in the dynamics of the system. And in our case, to give you an example, we use the inputs were the evolution in time of the amplitude and the standard deviation of our Gaussians, of our fitted Gaussians. Then we used PySINDy with polynomial functions of third order as candidate functions, finding ODE describing the dynamical behavior of the measured data. Next. This is the application of PySINDy to our data. So here you can see plotted the amplitude in pixels, so the amplitude of the Gaussians, of the fitted Gaussian, as function of the time, here represented as frame number. And the purple line is the solution of the ODE found by PySINDy, which is in an inverse exponential, and it's in a good agreement with what we found in literature. Next. So in conclusion, I presented you a proof of concept of our method. So we applied for one simple case. We extracted the contour using an intensity threshold. Then we approximated the raw extracted contour with multiple Gaussians. And finally, we discovered governing equations for the crater's dynamics of this simple case. And the idea is now to perform this evaluation on more complex cases. So the next steps are to perform and improve the described analysis on the entire parameter space to correlate the dynamics of the cratering process to the input parameters of the problem, which are the nozzle height, the pressure, the regolith simulant, and the jet mass flow rate, leading to a reduced order model that could be used for future predictions of PSI effects. Thank you very much.